Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the GM screen for the Alien role-playing game. The Alien RPG is something that I've been really excited about lately. It's something that I want to spend some time in 2021 advertising, trying to boost and raise awareness of it because, I love the Alien movies. I love the Alien franchise. I love the Alien creature. So this was an RPG that I am really, really excited about. I just recently got the GM screen. So in the Alien role-playing game, the terminology isn't Game Master, it's Game Mother, based on like the mother, computer systems that you had and like on the Nostromo and stuff like that. So it's just a little twist on the GM terminology. But you can still just call yourself a GM, and it is a GM screen. This is a deluxe screen in landscape format for the official Alien role-playing game. It features Martin Grip's art on the outside and a host of useful tables and important information on the inside, while keeping the GM's plans hidden from the eyes of inquisitive players, something I've known all too well up until I started doing like nothing but online games. I don't have the exact retail price. I ordered this off of Amazon using a gift card, and actually had the missus order it because she had Prime. So I don't know any of that information, unfortunately, but I will include a link to Free League's website. So you can check out not only the Alien RPG, but all the other awesome role-playing game systems that they have put out. So let's just get right into it here. This is just a piece of paper sort of for, your barcode and being able to face it on the shelf. But here is the screen itself. So it's a 3-panel screen. And so what you have is just sort of this, darkened area. It looks like you might have some either like ash or debris or just dust that's reflecting light here. And then you've got the alien, the xenomorph creature here on the last 2 panels. I actually really like the art style on the screen because it gives you just enough that you recognize, the key features. Like you've got the crest, you've obviously got the mouth, you've got the tail here, you got the dorsal tubes, but it doesn't overly expose the creature. Like it's still largely inside of darkness. Like you can make out some details from the crest, but not a ton. So I actually like that because it sort of, again, adds that aura of mystery. It sort of plays on the fact that in the movies, the xenomorphs like to hide in darkness, and they use darkness and camouflage to their advantage. So I really like that about it. Even the paper sheet here that goes over it has sort of the same thing. So you've got, again, you see the creature, you see the shape of it, but the details are hidden by the shadows. So I like that art style. I think that it's really cool, and it feels, again, really true to the feel of the the xenomorph creatures from the movies in the first place. So again, nice detail. So on the other side, we're going to go over the charts here. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on what's included, like what the charts represent, mainly because I'll be covering most of it in separate videos as I sort of compartmentalize the RPG to make it maybe a little more digestible or a little less overwhelming. But I still want to at least show the different things that are on here because there's a lot of really useful information on here, and I'm really pleased with a lot of what's on this screen. So the first thing that we have here is just how to measure time. So in the Alien role-playing game, you have rounds, turns, or shifts. So shifts are typically 5 to 10 hours. You would use those for like resting overnight, or like the amount of time it might take something to occur. You have turns, which are used primarily for moving around in what's referred to as stealth mode. So that's when you are basically, not just brazenly trudging your way through. You might be taking your time, trying to limit the amount of noise that you make. Other creatures might be moving around as well. So basically, you just have individuals in the same location that might not be aware of each other until they get, too close. And then you have rounds for combat. They're at about 5 to 10 seconds. Again, it's not like a set amount every single round. It's just sort of an abstract value that you can sort of go off of. Then we have sneak attack and ambush modifiers. So these are, the modifiers you would use to making attacks. The closer you are to something you're trying to sneak up on, the more it's likely that it might hear you. It could hear you moving up. You can, maybe your feet shuffle. Maybe it hears like, you cocking the hammer on the pistol, or, there's all kinds of different things that can make it difficult to sneak up on something and get an attack off. So these modifications, or at longer ranges, would be a little bit easier because you're not as close, so you don't make as much sounds when you're trying to aim your weapon or whatever. So these modifications are the negative or positive amount of d6s that you would modify your roll by. So if it's a negative, you would actually subtract that many from your pool of dice, and if it's positive, you would add that amount. So at extreme range, being able to get a sneak attack off, you actually get +3 to your dice. However, that's going to be modified again by the range of the weapon as well. Stealth here, so this is the actual like moving around in stealth, not just trying to get that sneak attack off. It gives you what the modifiers are based off how far away you are from the target. So short range is you're basically considered to be in the same area. So maps in the system are divided into what's called zones. If you think about like a floor of a complex, for example, the hallway would be a zone, and then like the rooms on either side of the hallway, each of those would be their own zone. It's again, it's sort of a more abstract way of dealing with movement and distance, so you're not worried about like the precise number of feet that you can move and things like that. So you got short range, which is basically you're both in the same zone. Medium range is you are adjacent, you're in a zone adjacent to the one that your target is in. So like if you're in the hallway, your target's in the room, like at the end of the hallway, for example, you'll be considered at medium range. Then there's like behind an open or closed door hatch, or behind an open door or hatch, sorry, not closed, but open door hatch. Long range, which is two up to two zones away, and then you have extreme, which is 3 zones or more. Then we have difficulty modifications. So if the players are trying to do something that might not fall under typical use of a skill, for example, or they're pressed, or there's something going on that's making things a little bit more difficult, then you can apply these modifiers again. If it's a positive number, you add that many d6s to your roll, and if it's negative, you subtract that many d6s to your roll, and you're looking to get at least a single 6, or what's called a success roll, which on a 6-sided die is rolling a 6. So those are modifications there. Then we have our action types. So in the Alien RPG, you get there's slow actions and fast actions. You can take 1 fast action and 1 slow action in the same turn, or you can take 2 fast actions. You don't have to do it in any particular order, and you don't necessarily have to use both actions on your turn. I'm not going to go into everything here. Like I said, I'll talk about that in a future video. But in a combat situation, for example, if you are in close combat with somebody, you can make your attack roll, and then which is a slow action because you've got close combat attack, and you could hold on to your fast action in case they swing back at you. You can try to block the attack with something, like if you're holding an item, or you've got like a gun in your hand, for example, you can get that, or you can use that to sort of block the attack. So there are things that you can do sort of as a reaction. So that's, again, an important thing to know, and I'll talk more about that in a later video. But again, very useful stuff to have, especially if you're just getting into the system, because like after a couple of years, you might know what all the different actions are, so you won't need to worry about looking them up. But if I'm running this for the first time, I really want this information at a quick glance, so that's awesome. The next chart that we have is the critical injuries chart. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but if you get reduced to 0 hit points, you're not necessarily dead, but you do suffer a critical injury. Now, the more severe the critical injury, you do run the risk of it being a fatal injury. So we've got the injury type. If it's fatal, yes or no. And there are like modifiers that you can see here as well, like yes, -1. So that just basically means when you make your stamina check to avoid dying that turn, you would take whatever this number is as a penalty to the dice that you would roll. So if you get if it's fatal, if you have a ruptured aorta, then you get -2 on your stamina check. And you get -2 to stamina anyway, which is really bad. But I think that's what you worry about more if you've been treated so that you're no longer dying, but you still have like the injury sort of thing. There's the time limit. So this is how often or how frequently you would need to make those death checks if you're not properly treated. So they can range from 1 round to 1 shift or 1 turn, depending again on how serious the injuries are, what the effects are of each injury. So, for example, if you have a severed arm, then you can't use that arm. So if you had something that was a two-handed weapon, like a smart gun or something like that, you can no longer use it. And yeah, you can have severed limbs, cracked spines, ruptured jugular. Your heart could be impaled. The last 4 here are actually just instant death. So those are ones you really want to look out for. So you can, and then we have our heal time. So this is how long it takes of like rest and recovery to shake that injury, so you're no longer suffering the effects from it. So actually, I like this system quite a bit because it means that you can endure a lot. Like you can take a beating, you can suffer a number of injuries, or you could have something happen where it's just a freak occurrence and boom, you're dead. The way that you do this is you would take 2 6-sided dice. One is your tens digit, one is your six digit, or your ones digit, sorry. And then you would just roll. So you can see the numbers are between 11 and 66, but it's just 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and so on. So it's just basically, it's a percentage thing without, having like 100 different options. It just has the ones that you can roll using 2d6, but it also means that you only need d6s to play this game, which is another thing that I actually like about it quite a bit. So we've got that there. Again, a very useful chart to have, and something that you are going to be consulting quite regularly, I assure you. And then we have the final panel here. So this gives us our panic rolls. So we have stress and a panic mechanic in the Alien role-playing game. You get, if you have a level of stress, you get an extra dice that you can roll, but it's referred to as a panic die, or a stress die, sorry, so that it's something you can distinguish between the regular dice that you're rolling for your skill checks or attack rolls, and you roll them all together, and like the stress dice represent what could be like adrenaline pushing you through and giving you more of a chance to succeed. But if you roll a 1 on those stress dice, you have to make what's called a panic roll, where you roll a 6-sided dice and you add whatever your current panic level is to it, and then you consult the chart. So the lesser numbers here are things that can be sort of minor annoyance, but they're not going to stop you from doing something, and they're not going to put you in a situation where you're screwed by your panic, which is good because it basically means that you have to have 4 stress or more on your character before you run the risk of it actually really impeding you. So the first 1 through 6 is you're fine. You manage to keep everything together. On a 7, you develop a nervous twitch, which your stress level and the stress level of friendly NPCs in short range of you actually increase by 1. So it can, help. Stress can feed on itself, obviously, but you can still get your actions off. And if you roll, I think if it's 10 or higher, it actually interrupts the action you were trying to do. So if you try to like make an attack, you try to shoot something with your gun, and you panic when you're shooting, and you get a 10 or higher, then even if you succeeded otherwise on the roll, you don't do damage. So you basically just fire wildly, the panic overtakes you. And if you get a 13 or higher, you actually suffer what's called a permanent mental trauma, which is something that you would roll for in another chart. But yeah, so we got all that stuff there. Again, really useful stuff to have, because stress is a major part of the system, and the longer you go without being able to rest and be in a safe place where you don't have to worry about creatures coming in and killing you, the stress can really, really build up. Then we have ranged fire modifications. So these are the modifications for distances and different things that you can do, lighting conditions for your attack rolls. Again, useful information to have. The ranged categories. So I mentioned that earlier, what they are. And then you have the different types of cover. So you got shrubbery, furniture, door, inner bulkhead, outer bulkhead, and an armored bulkhead. Each of those has a number rating, and whenever you take damage, whatever your armor rating is, you would roll that many 6-sided dice, and any 6s that you roll would each negate 1 point of damage. And if you're wearing body armor, for example, you would actually add the 2 together. So if you're getting shot by something, for example, it might hit the furniture that you're ducking behind, and that might sort of, take away some of its momentum. Your body armor can then affect it, and you might not take anything. So that's just how the system works. And again, I'll go over that in more detail when we get to the combat demonstration, because there are things that can also permanently reduce your armor rating too, like the Xenomorph's Acid Blood. But again, we'll talk about that. I guess that's a teaser for another video. Maybe I'm getting kind of clickbaity. I don't know if I like that or not, but anyway. So there you go. That is the GM screen for the Alien role-playing game. And honestly, I really like this screen. It's got a lot of useful information on there. And it's basically anything that I could think of that I would want handy, like immediately handy, because it's something that you're going to reference or need to know, especially starting out. It's all there. I can't think of anything that I would rather remove from this screen to make room for something else. I can think of a few things that if they had a fourth panel, that might be nice to be on there. But I wouldn't take anything that's already on the 3 existing panels and remove them to, make room for something else. So I think they did a really good job putting a lot of the most important charts on the screen so that it just limits the amount of time that you're flipping through the book. So I think they did an excellent job with that. And yeah, if you're going to be a game mother or a GM for the Alien role-playing game, I do highly recommend picking this up, especially if you're doing like in-person games, or even when I'm running online games, I'll still have my GM screen set up. And just have my laptop off to the side, right, that I use for the webcam. So I think it's an absolutely excellent purchase, and it was something that I was immediately excited about getting. As soon as I saw that Amazon gift card, I knew exactly what I was going to get with it, and here we have it. So the Alien RPG GM screen. So let me know in the comments below if any of you have played or run the Alien RPG. First of all, what were your experiences with that? How did it go for you? And if you actually ran games, did you have the GM screen? And if you did, how useful was it for you running it? And I guess how much experience do you have with the system overall? And if that's affected the usefulness of the screen for you or not, because that's something I'd love to hear as feedback from anyone that actually has that experience. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be other Alien role-playing game videos coming out in the very near future. We're going to go over things like how to make skill checks or attack rolls, the combat system. We're going to look at stress and panic, death and dying. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we can definitely look at to help introduce this awesome RPG system. So really excited about it. Really looking forward to spending some more time with this. So thank you guys very much for watching. Also, do check out the Free League website. And if I don't put the link in the description, please let me know, and I will do that, because I sometimes forget. It's just, human nature, I guess. But if I do forget, let me know. But definitely check it out. Check out their offerings for the Alien role-playing game, as well as other things that they have. I think they do like Tales from the Loop. They do Vaesen, I think it's called, or Vaesen. There's got a whole bunch of different stuff there, so definitely give them a look. So again, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care.